Good morning, very warm welcome. Welcome back to the session on agricultural and climate risk insurance. Now, before we start, just again, some housekeeping items so that those who didn't participate in the previous session know what this session is about and what you need to look at. So this session is a 90-minute session. We have a Q&A feature. You can ask questions in the Q&A or you just put in the chat. After the three presentations of the three speakers, we'll try to be a little bit more interactive as much as it can be done in this virtual session. So you can raise your hand, lower your hand, and mute yourself after you spoke. Let's see how that works. The session is being recorded. That's very important. And we upload the slides and the recording of the session and the other sessions on the conference website. That question came in the previous session. And if you have any technical problems, you can chat with where you see the MIN executive team, the Microinsurance Network executive team, who's hosting this conference technically, and a very big thank you to the team for doing such a great job. So now we can go back to our speakers. We just heard in the previous session that climate change is a key challenge for low-income communities in the region. Some products are available, as Klima explained in his presentation. But then we heard from Mimosa from Albania that in her country, there's a high demand for agriculture insurance, but very little supply. And I believe that might be the case in other countries as well. Now, I gave some guiding questions to the three speakers of this panel. We are interested in hearing, and the audience is interested in hearing about solutions that are implemented for agriculture insurance or climate risk insurance, especially for the low-income market, for smallholder farmers. We want to understand and want to hear about some successes. What were the challenges? What were lessons learned from such schemes? And certainly in the post-COVID digitization wave, to what extent are digital solutions an enabler for agriculture and climate risk insurance products? So we would like to know what works, what does not work, what are main challenges, how to overcome those challenges. What are the gaps that need to be filled to increase outreach and barriers for market development? We heard in the previous presentation about the results from the IAS study, concluding that policy actions are needed on supply and demand side. We need PPPs and regulatory actions, and we need financial literacy activities. And maybe we can take this up in that session and also try to be more concrete to understand what does it exactly mean. Now we have two representatives from the insurance industry and one from a major donor organization. And let me just quickly introduce the three speakers. I have the pleasure to welcome Nadica Jovanovska Boshkovska from Northern Macedonia, representing Eurobri. She studied at the University of Rome, holds a master's degree in international economics. Until 2020, she was head of the representative office of Eurobri, and now she's project director for Northern Macedonia and Serbia, and still head of the representative office in Skopje of Eurobri. So welcome, Nadica. I would like welcome back, and luckily it worked with the technology. Welcome Devi Khechinashvili, chairman of the Georgian Insurance Association. Thank you very much for being with us. He is the chairman of the board of the Georgian Insurance Association since 1998 and was a founding member of the Georgian Insurance Association in 1996. He holds a PhD in physics and from the University of Jena in Germany, in my country. So welcome, Devi, and we are really interested in hearing about the role of insurance associations as well. And our third speaker is Andrey Zaripov, agricultural insurance and agricultural finance expert from the IFC in the Ukraine. And he has an MBA in business administration and is working in his position as agricultural insurance lead and regional coordinator since 2000. 13. Now, nice round of applause to all the speakers virtually. And I would like to invite Nadica to start her presentation. So she is frozen. We can't hear or see you, or at least I cannot hear or see you. Now she disappeared. So by the time she comes back, maybe Devi, you would like to start with your presentation so that we don't lose too much time. You are on mute. You please turn on your microphone.
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Very nice.
Oh, Nadica is back.
Ah, Nadica is back. Very good.
I don't know what happened, sorry.
So then we can start with you again. We haven't started yet. So if you want to start with your presentation.
Okay, I'll share my screen now. Can you see it? Yeah.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so thank you very much, Dirk. Hello, everyone. Today I will share the experience from North Macedonia and Serbia projects mainly that where we operate as Europari. Our mission is to improve access to affordable, high-quality cat and weather insurance products for homeowners, SMEs, and farmers in disaster-prone emerging market economies. And that's why we actually entered this Southeast region, where we feel that a certain support in increasing the penetration rate of insurance was needed. So we operated in Serbia, in Albania, in North Macedonia, Bosnia, and also in Kazakhstan, where we, with the support of different donors, we implement some projects with inclusive insurance activities. But now I will stick to the North Macedonia and Serbia, where we have active projects at the moment. Before I start with the agriculture insurance, I would like just to say that in general, penetration and density of insurance in North Macedonia and in Serbia, it's quite low compared to the EU average. Even Southeast Europe, we can see that 1.5% is the penetration in North Macedonia and Serbia, measured as a gross written premium as a percentage of the GDP. It's similar with the density, presented as a gross written premium per person. In North Macedonia is 78 euros, Serbia 102 euros. Compared with the EU average, it's very, very low. We'll see that we have a similar image, or the reflection is similar in the agriculture insurance line of business. But we really need to change this, because in both countries, the agriculture sector is a very important sector of the economy. It consists 8% of the GDP in North Macedonia. 16% of the jobs are in this sector. Around 13% of the country export, it's from agriculture, mainly exporting fresh and processed vegetables and fruits, tobacco and wine. It's similar in Serbia, 6% of the GDP, 15% of the jobs are in this sector. Even more, 90% of the country exports are from agricultural products, mainly raspberries, plums, maize, and wheat. Unfortunately, not only that it's an important sector, but at the same time, it's very vulnerable to climate risk. In North Macedonia, hail, spring, frost, flood, and drought are the main climate risks that hit this sector and the production. But the interest of farmers in insurance is unfortunately insignificant. Currently the I can say that up till 2015, the agricultural insurance penetration reached its peak of 3.5%, but evident drop was recorded in 2017. Since then, the number of insured farms remain stagnant despite the 60% premium subsidy, or up to the 2,500 euro per farmers that it's provided by the government through the paying agency, institution responsible for direct support payments and IPAR payments. In 2020, only 2% of the registered farmers were insured. And if we see here on my left-hand side graph, mainly in 2020, these farmers that are insuring their production are big farmers, export-oriented, business-oriented farmers. The number of policies is decreasing, but the area is increasing. Knowing the fact that the Macedonia, it's characteristic with small-scale farmers, average farm size is 2.8 hectares. In a way, we still leave unprotected, without financial protection, the mainly poor and vulnerable farmers, but those that are business and export-oriented are buying insurance. On the right-hand side, I have a graph that presents the premium and the claims on the market for the period 2016-2020. And we can see here that actually for this 5-year period, the average loss ratio is around 81%. So the collected premiums and the paid claims are in a way equal. So there are also insurance companies that have in a row few years negative technical results, so they don't want to offer this line of business. What are the main challenges, or let's say barriers, for increasing this penetration rate or protecting the farmers against climate risks? One very big challenge or barrier are the government for disaster payments of up to 100% of the loss. Thankfully, in 2019, this measure or this was stopped, and certain articles from the law on agriculture and rural development were deleted in order not to continue this kind of post-disaster payments, because from one side, it was this kind of payments was spoiling the farmers, expecting that the government is always here to pay, no need for insurance. And from another side, this was also demotivating the insurance companies. It was not sustainable in a way. Also, insurance companies avoid insuring farmers with high risk. This could be a challenge, especially Resen area. It's very risky because almost certain it's that every year hail or spring frost will occur. And this, let's say, and also farmers that expect certain loss are interested to buy insurance. So it was really tricky who to be insured, and the underwriters really had a tough job. Also, the insurance companies do not provide coverage for all relevant risks. From farmers' perspective, they're dissatisfied with the claim management process, and they believe that the insurance companies offer expensive insurance with high deductibles. But I will go back with one main challenge also is the late subsidy payments. The program is defined in a way that 40% of the premium is paid directly by the farmers to the insurance companies, and 60% it's actually paid from the paying agency directly to the insurance companies. And this payment was very often delayed, even not paid during the current year when the policy was issued, by the next year, which was making different bookkeeping or problems to the insurance companies. Even they had to keep reserves, etc., etc. So improvement of the subsidy payments program is needed. In Serbia, it's similar. The main, it's a very vulnerable sector, and the main climate risks are hail, drought, and flood. Here we have a higher agriculture insurance penetration rate of 12% of the registered farmers are insured, but still we are facing with the insignificant interest by the farmers. However, this graph shows that from 2016 up till today, we have an upward trend of gross written premium in both crops and livestock. And it may be due to this can be in a way prescribed to the premium subsidies. 40 to 45% of the premium is subsidized, or up to 70% in some more vulnerable areas like Šumadija, Zlatibor, Podunavlje, Moravica, and Kolubara districts. The only difference between the Macedonian subsidy program and Serbian is that here in Serbia, they have also maximum amount supported per sub-sectors. I will not go through the same the challenges, because the similar challenges with what North Macedonia is facing with are the challenges that Serbia is facing with. The only difference is that in Serbia, the government for disaster payments are ad hoc or based on different factors. Not the government is not always paying to the farmers if an adverse weather event occurs. So they have to have a government session, decide, etc. So the agricultural insurance market and the available insurance products in both markets are indemnity agriculture products offered through the insurance companies, livestock products, and the index-based insurance, which was supported by Europa REIT. The main differences between these products are in the risk coverage, the index-based yield that was taken in consideration when we speak about index-based insurance, and individual for indemnity-based insurance, and indemnification. What we have done, how we started when we entered the markets in Southeast Europe and in Serbia and Macedonia, through the donor support, we actually developed the area yield index insurance in order to in a way impact in raising, increasing this penetration rate, agriculture insurance penetration rate. We did a certain market research, and the results show that the farmers would like to see coverage or would like to be protected by other risks than those that are offered at that point in 2014. So the agriculture insurance offered protection against all natural catastrophes and biological perils that could lead to reduction of crop yields. With the area yield coverage, a farmer insures the average municipal expected yield of the crop, not the individual crop yield. And what are the benefits for the farmer? That they receive actually the difference between the actual yield and the insured average yield in the index municipality. The premium is calculated using a specially developed statistical model based on historical data. And the historical data that we used were from the state statistical offices in both countries. We took around 20 years historical data. It's good that statistical offices have this kind of data, and this was very helpful in order to develop the product. The expected yield that is taken in consideration is 5-year average, coverage 50 to 80% of the expected yield, and the crops for which we provided coverage was wine grapes, wheat, maize, barley, sunflower in North Macedonia, because those are one of the core crops, and maize, soya, sunflower, and wheat in Serbia. The coverage period is the entire vegetation period of the crop, from sowing to harvesting, and the method of identification is actually, we are waiting for the state statistical office to publish official crop yield data, and if the real municipal yield is lower than the insured average municipal yield, the farmer is compensated. Something that it's very easy. There are not a lot of procedures, but the farmer has no obligation to prove that he has suffered any loss or the level of loss that was incurred. However, while we were from 2014 up till today, we faced a lot of challenging and sales experience, and we actually learned something from this experience. Most farmers do not perceive insurance as financial protection against climatic and biological risk, but view it as an unnecessary expense. They saw it as additional cost. We don't want insurance, and we will wait what the government will do. We will expect direct payouts. They were also skeptic with the SSO data. Some of them do not fully understand the product, not only the farmers, but there were cases even the agents that were selling the product did not fully understand the product or did not explain well. So there were some problems in the farmers were not happy what was presented to them. Big farm holdings express more interest and better understand the product. However, they do not accept the average municipal expected yields because in most of the cases, their yield was higher than the average municipal expected yield. In Serbia, the product responded better on meso-level sale and in North Macedonia micro-level. So in North Macedonia, we did the sale through the insurance companies, our partners, and in Serbia, insurance companies, our partners, were selling it through the municipalities. The municipality authority was buying the product and providing financial protection for the territory of the municipality. So the sales challenges were raising awareness for agricultural insurance, limited number of crops covered with area yield also was a challenge, accuracy of the state statistical office data, and especially for North Macedonia, this week payment of the 60% of the premium to the insurance companies. So we actually, after finishing that project, we sit down, think about how to improve the sale because it was not very much successful, not very well perceived by the farmers and accepted. So thankfully, we developed a macro and meso insurance program financed by the Insure Resilience Solution Fund and the ROPARE. We get a grant for that program, 1 million euro project financed equally by ISF and the ROPARE, through which we developed a meso-level municipality area yield product. Providing financial protection of the poor and vulnerable beneficiaries in the municipalities against natural disasters. Here in Serbia, we stick to this index-based model on the meso level. Our partner is Globus Osiguranje. And in North Macedonia, we changed the model in a way. So we developed a macro-level sovereign agriculture program, agriculture insurance pool, where our partners are Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Water Economy and Insurance Supervision Agency. Our objective is to reach 1.8 million of poor and vulnerable beneficiaries, actually to protect as much as possible farmers. What we are doing at the moment, these projects both in Serbia and Macedonia are ongoing with a small delays in both countries, especially in Serbia due to COVID and elections, but we are moving slowly but successfully. In North Macedonia, the agriculture insurance pool is in the process of development. It's a comprehensive weather risk pooling solution for the Macedonian farmers. And the model is similar like Tarsim in Turkey. I can say similar because there are specific differences between both models, the one in North Macedonia and the one in Turkey. And that's after a lot of discussions, analyzing of the market, the farmers, discussions with the Ministry of Agriculture, it was decided that a mandatory insurance for all registered farmers that apply for production subsidies will be established in North Macedonia. Initially, we work on crop production. So first insurance for crop production, and then livestock will be covered. Government subsidy will be 20% of the premium without maximum amount in absolute value. Insurance companies will join the pool on voluntary basis, but I would like to say that up till now, there were several discussions with insurance companies, and at least those that offer at the moment agriculture insurance expressed interest to join the pool. Only pool issued policies will be subsidized, and risk covered through the pool will not be able to be covered by the insurance companies which are not part of the pool. So how we will enter new risks in the will be covered new risks through the pool system. Those risks will not be covered by the insurance companies outside. We are also developing innovative and affordable insurance products, and for initially the plan is to start with indemnity-based products that will cover basic risks such as hail, lightning, fire, and spring frost. Because the farmers are more vulnerable to these risks. And of course, we are thinking about storm to be included later on, but this is how we will start. Cost efficient, that's with claim management, it's in the process of development, and something that it's very important from the regulatory point of view and legal point of view. The pool will be, in a way, public-private partnership, and the government will be involved together with the insurance companies that will express interest to join the pool. In Serbia, we stick to the same meso-level area yield insurance product, a municipal area yield. Where a municipality buys area yield coverage as a budget protection instrument in case of natural disasters in agriculture. Municipality authority actually is the policy holder and the insured responsible for payment of full premium. And municipality authority determines who receives payouts in case of loss, who are the beneficiaries. Decides which crops to insure, decides the scope of the program, total area to be insured, insured yield coverage, and total sum insured and crop replacement price. Before I finish, my last slide is about the role of the government and the donors, because what I presented now, everything was supported by donors and the government. So I think that their role is very important in order to protect the farmers and develop inclusive insurance models. So the government, where I see it, they need to raise the awareness of the farmers for agriculture insurance. The farmers believe in the government. They're so specific group of people, target group, and they really hear and they really listen and act in that way, listen what the Ministry of Agriculture and the government will say to them. Provide affordable mandatory insurance as a form of financial safety net for all economically vulnerable farmers, and work closely on improving the premium subsidies programs. Donors, they are also crucial and should display flexibility in assessing how project objectives are being realized. Sometimes in the project implementation process, we are now facing with difficulties, and of course we would like to modify or implement, let's say, agile management process. They need to be flexible and support that. Something else that I would like to say is that please, donors, don't leave this region, because the interest in supporting Southeast European region is decreasing, but donor support is still very much needed. We need those money to improve our agriculture sector and agriculture insurance. Yes, you're providing TA and work closely with both the government and the insurance companies, but after developing or establish certain systems, sometimes the donors donor support is needed in providing funds for goods, mainly IT infrastructure. So thank you very much. I hope I was on time. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Nika. I'll just would like to ask you a very quick question that comes out of the chat, and I would like to add one thing. The question from the chat is, when actually will this pool be in place, and what's the chance of that it will materialize? And I would like to add, maybe you can very briefly describe the reactions of the market, the reactions of the insurers, and the reactions of the farmers that all of a sudden, or maybe not all of a sudden, but now there's a pool, which is a very different approach from what was there before.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, first, when our action plan is that now we are in the process of starting the procedure of enacting the law. So there will be a law of agriculture insurance. So this is a bit bureaucratic administrative activity. It should pass through the government and parliament. But I think that due to all that steps that should be passed before June 2022, I don't expect that it will be in place. In meantime, products are in the process of development, and financial setup, it's done. So June 2022 earliest.
Okay.
And in respect to the reactions of the farmers and the insurance companies, in March 2021, we had a conference where we present the plan, and surprisingly, the insurance companies were very positive. They see, in a way, the pool, they believe that the pool will impact on these current problems that we have. First, only, I think I show you in the presentation, less than 4,000 policies are sold per year. Only 2% of the farmers are insured, and most of those who expect certain losses. So through mandatory insurance, insurance companies will actually provide policies to all registered farmers. So they see this as a positive step. Then we'll have a system. It will be structured. There will be no direct payments by the government. So I think that regulating this line of business is good for the government and for the insurance companies. Farmers, to be honest, I don't know. I mean, now they're also very positive and believed in the process where the government is involved. I'm mentioning this, where the government is involved. They believe that now the claim process will be better structured, that the premium will be lower. But I think we'll see their first reactions the first year when the claims will have to be paid and when we'll have a adverse weather event that will strongly impact their production. But at the moment, both sides are expecting something good to happen, which is positive. Great.
Thank you very much for this insight, and thank you very much for the presentation. And we'll come back to you in the Q&A. There are more questions in the chat, so we will not forget those questions. But I would like to give the floor now to Devi, presenting some experience from Georgia. So your presentation is up. And you need to turn on your microphone, please.
Good.
Now we can hear you.
Can you see me also?
Yes,
screen?
And we can see you.
And my screen also?
We can see your screen, yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you very much for this very interesting event. And I was also start with some additional remarks. First of all, what is Georgia and insurance market? Georgia is 3.7 million people, $16 billion GDP, and something like $200 million insurance market. That is all what it is. So the penetration is quite low, despite a very interesting story that we have a quite high penetration, up to 20% on health in private voluntary health insurance. And here is one comment of me, which is out of this session about agro, but in my understanding, most of these health insurance can be also understood as inclusive insurance, because the people which are participating voluntarily, they have limited resources and they have to do a very proper risk assessment and risk management to understand what they have to buy over, and plus to add to it informal networks, to add to it savings, to add, and so on, really to have a cover which is from the side of the government or from the side of not exceeding 50% of medical needs. But now, in that regard, Georgian is a very unusual market. We have no one major class of mandatory insurances. Even NTPL is not presented. We have small mandatory classes, which for lawyers, for actuaries, and so on. In that regard, the program we are talking now about, and we are talking not about a system of agro insurance in Georgia, but mainly about a program, a pilot program, which started 6 years ago. The heritage we have had is maybe very close to the other countries with socialist heritage. We have, after the land privatization, we have had up to 500,000 mainly subsistence farmers. Insurable land, crop insurable land up to 400,000 hectares, low productivity. Most of the land is not properly registered. Generally, financial literacy among farmers low, and insurance minding even lower. So the agro insurance pilot project was developed also with the participation of the Insurance Association and with the support at that time with the Swiss Development Agency. I'm very grateful for that because it was an unusual story at that time. And the crucial weakness of the situation in Georgia towards agro insurance was insufficient, not reliable data and information for premium calculation, crops and regions, as well as climate-related data. I was listening for the previous presentation. Really, it was amazing. They have had really 20 years of data experience. We have had nothing. Therefore, what was to be done without these about yields, about climate and so on, and there was a story which was understood but not quantified, is the great variation of climate and crops across the region. Therefore, to define exactly what we started and would have till now is a government-subsidized named peril damage-based insurance program. The weather-related disasters are hail, flood, storm, and autumn frost for citruses. So it is a very limited package. It is not very good for the farmer because a lot of risks are not covered. It is also not very good for the financial organizations in terms of easing access to credit, but it is how it is. There was from the beginning an understanding that the product has to combine interests to address interests of business farmers and subsistence farmers, and therefore a lot of compromises inside. For example, a limitation toward the insurable land of 5 hectares. Over the years, 5 to 8 companies were participating, some of them stably, some of them moving out and coming in. What we have now, it is a 50% premium subsidy for vineyards and 70% for all other crops. And altogether over the years, the budget was 5 to 9 million gel. It means it is 1/3 in dollars. So that is a very small program, which we are now talking about, but it was something to learn more than really to have economic effect. Now I give you some figures. Look, the average premium in gel, so it means 3 times less in dollars, is last year up to $200 area. The overall plot size, if you see, like you see, is less than 1 hectare. It means that mostly subsistence farmers are targeted. Business farmers also, but in wine, there is more interest also for small business farmers who already produce their own wine. The average claim is also not so high. You see it grew up to 2,500 lari. And the claims frequencies, which started dramatically in 2014-15, are dropped up to 25%. It is, of course, high, but it is usual for climate-related risks. 6 days ago, we have had a major hail event, as we now understand, affecting something over 20% of the insured farmers. Well, another story is the premium, which is paid over the years. You see instability of the majorly of the subsidy budget. It varies significantly, and this instability is also not so good for businesses to invest in this field. At the same way of the number of insurance plots, you see up and downs. Some of the more these up and downs again have to do with the instability of the regulatory framework, because one day the government said they will have only properly legislated land to be insured with government subsidies. But now, well, it came again up, and we have a certain stability on the level of over 20,000 farmers, up to 500,000. Therefore, that is again something that we understand is clearly very complicated, because all these, the whole story is now a pilot. It is not a system. We are moving towards, we understand now more what has to be done. The other story that is also very interesting is how it is distributed over regions. And you see that most of the insurance penetration is to regions who are producing crops that have a business structure. And the same way as crops itself, wine is leading, fruits, and others have a much smaller share. So what we see is that we are not using what we started to talk about, this great variety of crops and regional, because we are not there. The other story is that, unfortunately, over these years, we were not able to obtain qualified data from meteorology or observations or for yields and so on. That is all practically what we know is from the regions where we are presented ourselves. And that is how we think to develop. The budget for premium subsidies is unfortunately also over the years, 1 year practically. There is not a multi-annual budget framework. And that is also negatively affecting the investment strategies of the insurance companies. The calculation of insurance premium is the same for many crops and regions. Flat premium rates across are an obstacle to ensure the viability expansion of an agro-insurance project. And one important thing, and that is a mutual understanding among the industry, and so that the independence and qualification of loss adjusters, as well as standardization of the procedures of loss adjustment, is very important. All these together gives us an understanding that we learned a lot. The wordings are today much better, pro-farmer, let us say so. And claims are paid very quickly. Digitalization is also ongoing, especially in the COVID era. That was very positive in that regard. For the claims procedures, we are now introducing a mandatory use of digital cameras among the different claims adjusters belonging to or tied to companies. And now, based on these problems, I have some good news in that regard. Is first of all, that despite a complicated description I have given, the insurance companies are interested. That is very important. Still interested. Might be it is because they have less other profitable areas, but the insurance companies are interested. They are working with microfinance organizations. They are developing their agent channels, and also the qualification and the standardization of claims adjustment is actively driven by the insurance companies. We are very thankful, for example, for Agroseguro from Spain, who helped us in preparing guidelines and protocols for claims adjustment in a number of fruits and so on. And this cooperation has to go further. But all these guidelines and protocols, they are presented, they are publicly available. The farmers know about it. Yes, most of the farmers know about, but they try to read it in a way which is more profitable for them. The political will is also available. That is also very important, that the government is interested in developing out of the pilot towards a agro-insurance system in Georgia. Starting in 2020, we have already obtained a very important thing, that we have a 3-year budgetary framework for subsidies that stimulates, of course, the readiness of insurance companies to strategically invest. And now we reached a step where we understood we have to change in the approach to separate between business farmers and subsistence farmers. And now we are practically completed with the government on a new product, an innovative insurance program, the so-called universal program, especially designed for subsistence farmers, covering their input costs with a trigger of 30% and a subsidy level of 85%. We hope to enter with this product really a big number of subsistence farmers in regions that are practically not penetrated by insurance, and also crops that are practically not penetrated by insurance. This program will start hopefully in 22, now are the last preparations. We hope in a couple of years have more understanding on a countrywide risk mapping and really the ability to move away from flat tariffs to regional and crop-wise structured tariffs. The story is we have to learn all by ourselves because climate observations are still very weak. So we are collecting the experience by our own. This is how we understand the development already of agro-insurance in the next years. I hope that a couple years after we come, we will have more information also about yields, so that we can really talk about crop insurance in Georgia. That is, I think, all what I want to see now on because we are talking about a project, a very concentrated project, which is today has less economic effect because of its penetration, but which for sure already pushed forward insurance minding in that regions where the industry is active. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Devi. I have a very, very quick question. Maybe you can give us a short answer. You represent the industry association. What is the particular role the industry association can play in order to develop such an agricultural insurance scheme?
We are the major partner for the government in negotiations on terms, on data, on, for example, of mediation. The insurance mediator with the insurance association is looking for out-of-court settlements also for these insurance programs. So the role is quite intensive. We are the major source of information. I can tell you differently. The weakness, one of the institutional weaknesses of our agro-insurance program and the future system is that other associations, farmers associations, for example, consumers associations, and so on, are weaker in Georgia. So we need their voice, we need their expertise, we need their discussions, and that is the deficit today. So this is also what we are trying to support, like as well as an independent core of claims managers. We are all interested in an independent, qualified core of claims managers. We are now consolidating, thinking about how to come to it. We are also using, for example, Agroseguro's experience, or in terms of how to finance them, independent people. We understand, I think we understand clearly that qualified partners representing farmers are very, very important. We think that the Insurance Association has most of the features of representation and qualification in these discussions with the PPP regarding agro-insurance. And a very special role again, the mediation. The mediation out of court settlements, very effective, very efficient, with our very good group of mediation, and it is directly embedded in the government program.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Now, I would like to welcome Andrey from IFC to the floor. And we're interested to now have a different perspective, more from the international donor side. And he will present findings from other regions, mainly from Kosovo, Ukraine, and Azerbaijan. So thank you very much for being here as a speaker, and I'm looking forward to your presentation.
Hello to everyone. It's my pleasure to be here and to share some of the experience and lessons learned. So, yeah, our role as the organization actually to help to develop the markets. And during the last 13 years, which were involved in the agriculture insurance market development, we have found out quite a lot of interesting stuff that I really would like to share with you. So I made my presentation less kind of numeric, but more on their kind of triggering some specific topics, but for sure I will provide you some more detailed information. So first of all, just to summarize and to make this kind of provocative question, what do you think that's maybe their key elements of success to implement agriculture insurance in any specific market? Is it like the government supports and premium subsidies, or it's a variety of good insurance products? Or do you think this is knowledge of insurance markets? For sure, active insurance market, awareness of farmers, bundle insurance and finance. And during their the period of time, I just realized that actually all of this, even more, is needed. And just a few examples. For example, in Ukraine, we had some kind of system of agriculture insurance since 2000, and the government played some role. And sometimes that role may be even bad for the market development. In mid-2000s, the government provided premium subsidies, but didn't restrict any kind of, didn't provide any requirements to the insurance companies in terms of the products, in terms of their reinsurance and so on. And in the end, we had a very bad impact of such kind of exercise, because more than 60, just I mentioned 60 insurance companies were offering some kind of insurance, because no one from them haven't had any insurance experience in agriculture insurance, like without almost any reinsurance. And after a few years, and the third year, it was always no uptake from the government, from the farmers, even if their government support were still offered to those farmers. So for sure, another example was only having their premium in place. That's what we have tried to do with like purely non-government, purely market-based pilots. where we have one bank and one insurance company, and as well one input supplier company. And the input supplier and the bank, as they given actually their financing to the same clients, they decided to use insurance as the tool to protect their loans. And at that time, they also decided to give their premium subsidies to the farmers. But surprisingly, we haven't had any kind of big uptake from the farmers. And this is another learning that I will share with you a little bit later. So what we do have as a market conditions in all those three countries, and they are quite similar one. And this is basically similar to what Nadica mentioned, Devi. So there is no or quite low insurance uptake. In many of those markets, we haven't had any agriculture insurance. And to be fair, that's their insurance culture itself, it doesn't exist. At least in our kind of part of the world, just to buy insurance, it's something kind of weird. I mean, it's more or less okay right now with their mandatory car insurance, but this is the question of the mandatory, and without culture to be insured to pass the risks, this has become even more hard to sell such hard concept as the agriculture insurance to the farmers that still think about other kind of ways of risk reduction, as Nadica mentioned, expecting some support from the government. So once the government providing any other kind of support in case of losses, just forget about the agriculture insurance in place. So the farmers will definitely wait for the government support, and if only this is the theme, then the system will not be in place. This is what we have seen right now in Kosovo, for example. We just, in the beginning of this process of establishing their system, we do have products, we do have awareness, we do have even government subsidies, but still the government still have the program or let me say, mentioning somehow that the farmers will get support in case of losses. And guess what? The farmers is reluctant to buy insurance because this is additional cost, even if it's not the high price. As well, what is quite important is the awareness of stakeholders. And as we're talking about the system development, where we pretend to have not only a pure business, but also we see the big role of the governments, because by learning the examples from their other countries where the system is actually working, we see that there is the pure role for the government, there is the role for their private sector, and the PPP models work the best. Instead of, if we have only one of those components, we have some kind of a low uptake, or only some kind of clients will use their insurance. So, but this minimum awareness also bring some problems and issues. And as Devi just mentioned, was this kind of communication with the government. So if they don't know what to do, this becomes a problem. So in this case, we may do a lot of good stuff, but at the same time, if within the government we have kind of different views and policies, or if they don't see clearly what they exactly would like to do, this brings me another example from Azerbaijan. We have started the project 5 years ago, but we ended it earlier because we faced with that kind of feeling that within the project timeline, we will not be able to achieve what we have planned because their decision-making process in Azerbaijan was quite slow. And once we have advised different options, pool, not pool, I mean, and all those kind of options have take place. I mean, I'm not their kind of fan of some specific system, because I see that in many cases, all those system may work is depend on their on some market conditions and their how you structure these models. But more or less, this understanding from the stakeholders, from the key stakeholders, is quite crucial. Low insurance products quality, this is other stuff, or no insurance products, no government support programs or not structured. and no trust in insurance markets. So what actually we can done in such conditions, and that's exactly what it should be done, is like to do awareness for all stakeholders, not only for the farmers, not only for the insurance companies, but as well to teach the governments and to have that constant process. With data right now, it's more easier because once we have started, this was one of the biggest issue for Ukraine, for example, is data quality and yields. And we have spent a huge amount of time, first of all, just to collect the data in one place, then to clean the data, then just to finalize, just to find out what data is actually can be used, because a lot of that data was kind of not that good quality that we actually can use for the product developments. But after that, right now we have a lot of like new data available from the satellites, from their some model data, and that's data increase the quality year per year, and as well their access and price of the data dropped dramatically. So as for now, I see that most probably this is not the biggest issue, and as well on the product development side and the product quality, it also not that much big issue right now, because we see so many different companies and agencies capable to provide the good guidelines as well from the reinsurance side. So this must probably not the bigger thing, but the most important one is just to bring their good trustable partners to the market, and as well to create the momentum, you know, like just to that the all stakeholders is ready. Because if as a project you come to the country, but the stakeholder, the key stakeholder is not yet ready, most probably it will not be any results. You can come with their number of good products, number of their of the insurance companies ready, but then most probably only kind of good educated, or those farmers who actually have those risks will be interested to buy, and you will not get that penetration as you have expected. Another thing is trust. So most probably this is one of their biggest issue that we have faced in Ukraine, because as I mentioned before, that's mid-2000 spoiled a little bit the markets, and even after 10 years, the farmers, they do believe that they do remember some bad cases, and they are like hesitant to try. So what we have done differently, instead of just saying, oh, you know, like agriculture insurance is good, you should try. Basically, the best kind of promotion for the farmers is once their recommendation from trustworthy partners. I mean, it may be even there are good partners from as a bank, or it may be the input suppliers. Input suppliers are the most kind of closest to the farmers. They do speak with them at the same language, and what we have seen that there with the input suppliers, it may be quite a good thing to do. As well, the products should be simple and transparent. In Ukraine, for example, we have some insurance products that I don't like 60 pages, just writing with the small fonts, and you know, like the farmers actually they not just technically, physically not capable to read and to understand what it is about, and is also impacting on trust. So they say, okay, so you must probably you're writing some with the small font, something that I will not be able to get their indemnity payment back. And in many cases, it's true. Quick indemnity payments, another thing that's also may overcome their trust issue. And in many cases, their parametric index insurance may change and bring this kind of quick payments. And this is what we have done. And I will told you that example a bit on the next slide. But quick payment really changed their behavior from the farmers. And once they get the payments, they are becoming that kind of the best advertisement. So once the farmer say to their neighbor that he gets the indemnity payments from this insurance product, and that farmer also gets some kind of loss, most probably for the next year, that next farmer also will be interested to look and to try. Start small. I mean, this is also quite good to learn for me. Instead of doing there are 10 different insurance products and trying to approach everyone, it's the best just to do a small pilots and to test if those products are interested for the farmers. Because in many cases, what we have done great, excellent products, but if it's too hard to understand for the farmers, or most probably this is not covering their needs, then there is no sales. Exceed expectations. I mean, it's to build that kind of trust. It's also combine all this kind of quick payment, but also be close, be as fast as possible, and be connected, respond quickly, and strong oversight. So, as this is kind of clear for everyone, you may spend to build your trust for years, but only one case can break it, and it's almost impossible to get that trust back. So the trust, I guess, it's kind of crucial thing to do in the initial, and this is one of their key elements as well on the system development. The good question.
2 minutes left.
2 minutes left. Oh. There are quite interesting question. The price, is it really a driver of sales? Because in many cases, they say, okay, so can we have their lower price? I can tell you for sure that the price is not the thing. Everything which is not for free can be expensive. I have there are cases when there are farmers who can propose to buy insurance for 1%. And they told it's too expensive because the thing is not in price, the thing is on value. If the clients see the value in this product, they will pay and they will actually do. And in many cases, not even the thing with the subsidies. So as well, once you understand what the clients needs, then you're able to give them their value, and then to figure out what's actually the price for money. So client will pay only if they see value for him, and this is the truth. So just analyzing and also it's quite important to know who is your client, right? Because their agriculture insurance is a bit different from the other types of insurance, and the farmers usually is those guys who are doing this business for multiple years. And in this case, this is your constant clients, and it may not be like this year you're doing one thing and next year you're doing some bad thing. Just you will lose the clients. And so, as I mentioned before, with the trust. So this can be the case. And the farming, they're not doing this only for money. This is their life, and this is their future. So the thing is actually how the insurance can help them to be more sustainable. This is what you may think about as the part of the value proposition. Why insurance? Most probably will not stop that much on that, but the thing I also realized, and I think it's quite important insight to share with you, is like, okay, so we can have all those parts of the puzzle, and it's good if we have some kind of mandatory insurance for sure. It's like simplify a lot of, let me say, just to get the big numbers. But if you are not talking about the mandatory insurance, I guess that the biggest thing what we may do to improve the sales and to increase the sales is to make the insurance as a part of their bigger financial proposition. So, for example, it's either integrated to the financial products or another. I guess quite great example from Ukraine. We started the program with one of the input suppliers, Syngenta, 5 years ago. And the request was that to develop their weather-based index insurance for their clients, and their offer is actually by farmers buying certain kind of package of their products, they're offering them like free of charge insurance. For sure, it's incorporated into their into the price of the products, but this is their free of charge insurance, and this is the real insurance with the real reinsurance. And the farmers, and they made it as their marketing purposes. They made it as the part of their value proposition to the farmers. And after 5 years, their result is from the last year, at least, I don't know yet for this year, but for the last year, we get almost 900,000 hectares insured, more than 3,200 active policies, and it's like $40 million program, and it is like last year, each third farmer get indemnity payments. And this is an example when their agriculture insurance is not a part of the government program, but they're well integrated into their financial solution. And as I mentioned before, just having the subsidies in place, just having the good products in place, just having the good insurance companies in place, it not necessarily will lead to their good sales. So you should have that kind of puzzle, and if possible, also integrate their banks, because for them it's actually the same kind of good products to protect their cash flows. And this is for sure the excellent tool for the governments to stabilize their budgets. So it's the thing just to have those win-win-win in all stages, but you really should be very careful in terms of their assessing, understanding of their market conditions, and just building this system without focusing, on specific product type or a specific product system. I guess this is not that least relevant instead of having the full picture. I guess that's it from my side, and I will be glad to answer all your questions if you have any.
Thank you, Andrey. I have a very, very quick question, and please with a very short answer. We heard earlier from the example of the former Yugoslavian countries that, yeah, size matters. We need to get big numbers, and ideally we would sell one product across countries, but that's a problem because there are different regulations. Do you see in the countries that you work in, do you see any approaches, any discussions among regulators or governments to maybe come up with a product that goes across countries, maybe to better spread the risk, to have bigger numbers? Have you seen that?
I do believe that the products actually should be developed on the needs of the exact country and on their kind of specific conditions for each country, and if possible to the specific region itself. And that's why, to develop any product is not that hard, right? So once you know what to do, it's not the biggest kind of issue and the problem. I guess that we need to go from their needs perspective instead of their what we may do as a product, or what is like easier for us to do as a product.
Yeah, thank you. There's one question from the chat, and maybe Devi or Nadica can answer that. And it's a very simple question. In the absence of a bigger government policy, do you see this, and I think this means agricultural insurance or climate risk insurance, as a viable project or product? Or maybe we need to discuss what means viable, what are the conditions for being viable? So maybe Devi, start with you. You're still on mute.
I think the question itself is, what is a broader policy of the government? The broader policy of the government has different reasons, my understanding. One is to spend less money and to say we have introduced a government mechanism. That is one very important story starting in Georgia, especially 6-7 years ago till now. Yeah, the government is spending $3 million. and saying that they have a guarantee mechanism. That is one story. But then the government also develops to an edge when they want already to have economic and even macroeconomic results out of all of this. And then they have to come up with more serious consideration. Then I think it's very important to understand that is in Georgia and also I'm sure other ways that the government is coming up with a lot of efforts to intensify agro production, to bring in absolutely new crops. For example, in Georgia, I don't know, pistachios, olive oil, and so on. Or also very interestingly, that is also a modern development, not to change the structure of smallholders under 1 hectare, but to bring in very efficient crops, for example, bilberries, yeah, which have an extreme outcome even of small crops. So this is what is happening. And this has to be answered there also with insurance. We are today's system is of insurance is a pilot. It is not a system in Georgia. I'm sure that within a couple of years, it will fit in the, or it will die. That is the story is it has to answer the needs.
Okay, thank you. Nadica, your views?
So I think that Devi covered almost everything. I would just add that here also in North Macedonia, the government would like to show to the farmers that they care about them, because through in their involvement in the insurance, agriculture insurance. And also I think that what is specific here, especially in North Macedonia, is that the government says it will be mandatory. So if it's mandatory, without their control, they believe that it looks like that they're giving like a full portfolio or the one whole target the group to the private sector to operate. You know, they would like to control that sector since they are putting this mandatory agriculture insurance in.
Thank you.
So without them, if we say that what is the answer, without them, yes, will not be viable.
Yeah. There was one answer in the pool which you already answered around the expectations of the pool. So sorry, the question was in the chat, not in the pool. The expectations of the pool that there will be lower premiums, better products. You answered that already, that you believe that it's very likely. I would like to address one question, maybe to three of you. You spoke around the problem, that the government pays for losses, and it makes insurance. If that happens, no one needs insurance. If you have the guarantee that the government pays anyway, so why buy insurance? What solutions do you see out of that? Do you see out of this trap? Do you discuss that with the governments? How could that be solved? Maybe Andrey, you want to start to answer that.
Yeah, thank you, Dirk. It's awesome question. Basically, the idea is just to showcase to the government. So in fact, instead of paying some money, and they are not efficient in that, they don't have any capacity to do the loss adjustments. They don't have any kind of resources. And in many cases, they don't have any budget for that. So meaning that they're using this money from somewhere else instead of using those money for certain kind of other developments. So in many cases, they just simply don't understand that. But once you are capable to show them, instead of spending this money and not like even estimate the money what you may spend for the next year with this climate change, you are secured with the agriculture insurance scheme to spend their expected amount of money every year and to pass that loss adjustment and indemnity payments to their insurance companies and to the reinsurance companies, which are their business. They will be more efficient, they will be faster, they will be cheaper. And for their government purposes, this is an excellent tool to stabilize and to plan their budgets. So that's why this is like no way to have those two tools together. This is just to convince them and to help them to build this understanding how they can change and how they can shift to their to this kind of system. Yeah, and this is the role of the government. I do believe that most probably in terms of the subsidies, this is the best subsidies that the government may do, because other subsidies may destroy the market or even spoil it somehow. But the agriculture insurance subsidies, this is their absolute unique and good tool, and the best tool as the government may support the farmers in case of their climate change.
Again, a good news from Georgia. Our government is practically hardly refusing to pay any compensations in terms of insurable losses. That is very important, and that is already over a couple of years, even in dramatic events. I'm sure that 6 days ago, the event where 20% of insured were involved, the same percentage of not insured farmers is also involved. They will not pay compensations, despite we have local elections in 1 month.
Nadica, do you want to add anything on that?
In North Macedonia, I think that before that, through direct payouts, there was no system. So, a lot of money there was a huge flow of money to the farmers without real loss assessment or real losses. But now through the pool, what we see here is that from one side, the government says, we will include the insurance sector. They will be compensated for that, but also because they are experts in that area. They will help with the underwriting, actuarial work, reinsurance, but we will control the sector since we see that this is a very vulnerable sector and very important for our economy. Also, again, I will say this, what they're putting mandatory, what is the story behind this? Says, we will, in a way, force you to buy insurance to protect your production, but because we are giving you other subsidies for production of the crops, for agrotechnological measures, for all other measures that exist in the program. So for that, you need to be involved in a way, co-finance something. Again, they will also 20% subsidize the premium and make a system. So if we see the example of Tarsim, which we took it as a good example when starting developing the pool, they have really positive results, years and years. I think there was only 1 year when the government had to add certain amount of funds for claims. So let's see. Again, I will send like Devi. It's a piloting 1-2 years, but I think the system will come in place.
Yeah.
There's need of time.
So unfortunately, time is up, and I would like to end this interesting panel with just asking you, and we have regulators here, regulatory authorities and representation of that side, and we heard about their policy actions that need to be taken. What are your three, be brief, 3 actions, 3 items, 3 issues that should be addressed over the next 2-3 years? Maybe starting with Andrey.
Briefly, I guess this payments, the direct payments, just to be the parts to find out the link with their financial products, so that make it more interested not only for farmers but also for their financial institutions, make it sustainable. And the third one is trust, just to increase the trust by doing their good quality products and understandable products.
Okay. Devi.
Oh, yeah. We are talking one language, so I will be more concrete. I think for Georgia, for our system, future system, the important story is penetration, and connected with this also increasing trust, and their claims management, qualified claims management, independent claims management is very important, and reliable data. That is the biggest challenge.
Thank you.
So now it's very famous, or let's say fashion, this Western Balkan community that we are forcing. So maybe we should think about pooling solution on a regional level.
Ooh.
Yeah. Thank you very much. This regional level that I find really interesting. We will be organizing the International Conference on Inclusive Insurance, again digitally, but hopefully in 2022 it will take place in the Caribbean. In that region that you just mentioned, Nadica, other regions around the world, we have small countries. We don't have big numbers anyway, but we need to come up with a solution. And cross-country cooperation could be one of the solutions. Harmonization of regulation for some products could be a solution. And I'm interested how that discussion will continue. So to all the panelists, thank you very much for your presentation. Klima's picture is back up here. And we have the poll and the feedback that was just popping up, which I'll ask you to complete. So I give the microphone back to Klima. Thank you to all of you. And your microphone is still off.
Okay, so thank you, Dirk, and thank you for your wonderful session. So, dear all, thank you very much for being with us today on the first day of the Inclusive Insurance Conference dedicated to the CET region. We really have two excellent sessions, very interesting presentation, and importantly, lively panel discussion. I truly believe the topics have raised your attention and you will be motivated to join us again tomorrow. Before I concluded the first part of the conference, I would like to remind you to join us tomorrow at 9, followed by 2 working sessions on digitalization and customer focus. I wish you all the best to the end of the day and see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.